You're listening to the Wrestle Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the Wrestle Havoc podcast.
It was February 19th, 2020, where Cody Rhodes, in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, faced off against Wardlow inside of AEW's first ever steel cage match, where he famously hit that moonsault off the top to get the win. Of course, it is July 17th, 2023. Cody Rhodes returns to Atlanta, Georgia for Monday Night Raw. What is up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes right here on the Wrestle Havoc podcast, here to review Monday Night Raw from June 17th, 2023. We got a lot of things to talk about right here on the show. Of course, we had Cody Rhodes be on the show. We had Gunther versus Matt Riddle. We also had the Judgement Day all over this show. Usually the Judgement Day is slowly becoming one of the top factions, if not already the second top faction behind the Bloodline already on WWE TV. And they're doing phenomenal things. And especially as of right now, Dominik actually beat Wesley on NXT to win the North American Championship. So that is actually crazy to see. Dominik is now a singles champion in the WWE, and we now have Damian Priest holding the Money in the Bank. We got Dominik Mysterio holding the North American title. We now have Rhea Ripley holding the Women's World Championship. That leaves Finn Bálor, and Finn Bálor does not have a championship yet. Who knows what the hell is going to happen, but I'm definitely curious to see what goes on. But nonetheless, overall thoughts on Raw. I thought Raw was a fine show. I'll gladly admit, I thought the first hour was pretty good. I definitely enjoyed the first hour. The second hour, I was and the third hour, I kind of dozed off a little bit until the main event. But nonetheless, it was a fine show. One of the better Raws that were out there, to be quite honest with you. But nonetheless, I definitely enjoyed the majority of the things that I saw on this show. There were some things that I didn't enjoy. I know that Viking Raiders match, the Vikings match that people saw on Raw, a lot of people loved because of Titus O'Neil. And honestly, if anything, we do need Titus O'Neil more often on commentary because Kevin Patrick absolutely is horrible on commentary. But nothing personal against Kevin Patrick. I just think he's not really that good and he's not really fit for the job. But Titus O'Neil was on commentary for that particular match, but I'm not really that big of a fan of gimmick matches. And unfortunately, I wasn't really that big of a fan of the Viking Raiders and Alpha Academy match, to be quite honest with you. But overall, I thought this was a fine episode of Raw, to be quite honest with you. Not the best episode, but one of the better Raws of 2023. Before I get on with all this craziness regarding Monday Night Raw, of course, make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, if you guys had missed it, episode 22 of the Wrestle Havoc podcast is up on the channel. I talk about AEW potentially doing 12 pay-per-views a year, and from what it looks like right now, All In will not be on Max. It will actually be a actual pay-per-view that you're going to have to pay your hard-earned money for. Thing about it is All In and All Out are a week apart from one another, and it looks like you're going to have to pay money for both of those shows, which absolutely sucks, but we have no announcement about it yet, but we're going to have to wait and see in the future, of course, as we head closer and closer towards All In. I talk about a lot of other stuff as well on episode 22 of the Wrestle Havoc podcast, so if you guys missed it, the link will be in the description below. Also, if you guys missed it as well, AEW Collision. I covered AEW Collision. I talk about FTR and Bullet Club Gold delivering a tag team classic. A tag team classic 2 out of 3 falls match in which we saw FTR beat Jay White and Juice Robinson. But not to take anything away from Jay White and Juice Robinson, they absolutely knocked it out of the fucking park. If anything, this 2 out of 3 falls match made Jay White into a fucking superstar, if you guys already haven't known that already. But if you guys haven't checked out the AEW Collision review, the link will be in the description as well. We also saw the finals for both the men and the women of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Of course, Willow Nightingale beat Ruby Soho, and Ricky Starks, shockingly, of course, in heelish fashion, defeats CM Punk, and both of them are the winners of this year's Owen Hart Cup tournament. So if you guys haven't checked out AEW Collision, the review that I covered for AEW Collision, the link as well will be in the description below. All right. Let's get on with Monday Night Raw. The show kicks off with, of course, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Standing ovation for the crowd, of course, in Atlanta, Georgia. Cody is no stranger to Atlanta. Of course, it is his hometown, but the particular arena that they were in, this was the same arena where Cody Rhodes did that moonsault off the top of the cage. One of my favorite AEW Dynamites, if anything. Like those, like that was peak early AEW, like 2019 to 2020, before the pandemic, was just fucking fire for AEW. Not to say that they got the shit, because they haven't, and they're still pulling out awesome shit. But bro, before the pandemic, holy shit, they were knocking it out of the park. And that 2020 episode of Dynamite in, I believe it was the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, where they had the steel cage match. It was actually one of the best Dynamites I've ever seen, in my opinion. But yeah, this was the same arena where Cody Rhodes did that moonsault off the top of the cage and beat Wardlow to get granted his match against MJF later on at Revolution. But let's not talk about AEW. We're here to talk about WWE. We have Cody Rhodes, right? The first thing he cuts in his promo is, "So Atlanta, my home. What do you want to talk about?" And of course, it talks about how we don't have to talk because there's a large shadow that looms. And that shadow that looms over is, of course, we're talking about Brock Lesnar. One thing's for sure. When his car has been pulled, he indeed shows up. We don't have to talk. Brock Lesnar, he should come to this ring and accept this challenge for SummerSlam. You heard him, Brock. Get out here right now. And Brock does not come out. And, of course, Cody immediately is like, Brock apparently is here tonight. And it's the old MO. He will usually be fashionably late. If that is the plan, he will show up at 9 o'clock. Guess what? He will be in this ring waiting. At 10 o'clock, he will be here in this ring waiting. Maybe at the end of the show, he will still be waiting for him in this ring. But he wouldn't be remiss. It's the house that built him, but you may not know. The woman that built him is in the front row. And of course, he's talking about his mother. Here's the thing. There's a reason at the Nightmare Factory, his catchphrase is not, "Let's get funky." The other side, the one that trained him, the one that made him, the fighter that he is, herself, his mom, Michelle, please, he will say one thing about Brock. Their relationship has been complex. There's 2 words that he can describe him, and his relationship is hard times. But that's okay, because tonight, when he shows up, it won't be hard times in his home state of Atlanta, or his home state of Georgia, I should say. Not home. That's home city, Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia's the state. But, of course, it will be hard times for Brock Lesnar. Then he leaves, and he proceeds to greet his family, right? And it's great to see, his family in the front row. Then Brock Lesnar's music plays. But Brock does not come out. So at this point, Brock Lesnar is toying the shit out of Cody Rhodes right now. He's basically trolling his ass. And what happens is Cody walks up the stage, right? And his music plays again. Nobody shows up. And what happens is Cody Rhodes does that walk that everybody memed on the internet at Backlash. And he goes in the stage. He goes in the entranceway. And a chair is just thrown. A chair is thrown. And what happens is Brock comes out, pulls up a chair, and just beats the living shit out of Cody. He hits him repeatedly with the chair, and then he drives Cody Rhodes to the ring post. Very similarly to when Brock Lesnar beat the shit out of Dominik Mysterio a couple of years ago. If you guys do not remember, Dominik was in the front row, and Dominik ended up basically getting beat to shit by Cody Rhodes. When I saw this go get beat to shit by Brock Lesnar, but as soon as I saw this go down, it kind of definitely reminded me of what happened with Dominik Mysterio in that little feud that Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio had. And for a second there, I thought that Brock Lesnar was going to go after one of the family members of Cody Rhodes, but eventually that did not happen. So he beats him repeatedly with the chair. He drives Cody to the post. He picks up Cody, and he ends up hitting the F5 on the ringside area in front of his family. And then he applies the Kimura lock. He takes Cody back into the ring and then applies the Kimura lock once again. And Brock then grabs the microphone and accepts the challenge at SummerSlam. Or he doesn't grab the microphone, but he says he accepts the challenge at SummerSlam. And it is now official. It will be Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes 3 at SummerSlam. We clearly all expected this match to happen at SummerSlam. Unfortunately, we all wanted it to be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, but they're going to wait all the way till next year's WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes also has a documentary coming out, which I'm definitely interested in seeing because there's a lot of things that I'm interested about when it comes to that documentary. They actually recently released a trailer for that documentary, but from what it looks like right now, Brock Lesnar is going to be facing Cody Rhodes, and honestly, it's expected. This was supposed to kind of like put over Cody Rhodes as like this unstoppable, guy. Honestly, this whole feud with Brock Lesnar just didn't do it for me. To be honest with you, it just did not do it for me. Both of their matches, in my opinion, were just fucking boring. I did not enjoy their matches whatsoever. Apparently, the rumor was that there was supposed to be a stipulation added to this third match for SummerSlam, but it looks like it's just going to be a normal generic match, which honestly sucks. Of course, they're going to be in Detroit, and everybody expected, what if we get like a dog collar match, or what if we get a Texas bull rope match? It would be very weird because, of course, they're in Detroit, not Texas. But still, we're going to be getting this third match, and hopefully after this match, the biggest question that we really need to ask ourselves is, after the Brock Lesnar feud, what is Cody Rhodes going to be doing then? Because, again, we all know Cody Rhodes is the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns, and they're going to wait all the way till WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field until, they make that decision happen. But still, what is Cody Rhodes going to be doing? Is he going to be feuding with the Judgment Day? Is he going to be feuding with Seth Rollins? Who knows? I mean, there was a couple of weeks ago, there was a segment where Seth Rollins opened up Raw, and Cody Rhodes showed up, but out of nowhere, Brock Lesnar just returned. And, of course, the brawl broke loose, and Cody Rhodes actually got the upper hand. So, could we be seeing a Seth Rollins feud maybe after? Who knows? But this is the thing. If they're going to do a feud with Seth Rollins, which, honestly, they may do, but I doubt they will because Cody beat Seth Rollins 3 times. If they're going to do a feud with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins going into the fall, then clearly Seth Rollins is going to have to win. But also, when it comes to Seth Rollins, thing about it is he may not be the World Heavyweight Champion after SummerSlam because, of course, he's facing Finn Balor at SummerSlam. So who knows what's going to happen, but very interesting developments going on. But from what it stands right now, and it's been officially announced, it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. In our first match of the evening, we got Gunther versus Matt Riddle. I actually enjoyed this match. This match was really good. I was very excited for the match at Money in the Bank, but that match was pretty relatively short, and nothing really special, in my opinion, came out of that match. Not to say the match was bad. I just didn't really, expect a lot. I didn't, get a lot of things that I really wanted. I genuinely believe this match was 10 times better than their match at Money in the Bank. And, of course, Gunther got the win, and this was a non-title match. So, I mean, it's clear as day that Gunther is not losing that IC championship. Let's go through the match a little bit. Gunther is in control over Matt Riddle. Gunther then picks up Riddle, but then Riddle applies the sleeper hold. Then Gunther escapes and applies a sleeper of his own, and then he transitions into an armbar. After that, we get a series of back-and-forth strikes by both men. Riddle goes for the triangle lock, and then Gunther ends up picking up Matt Riddle, and then Riddle sends him to the outside. We got a running kick from the apron on Gunther. Then Riddle runs into a chop by Gunther, man. And one interesting note about Gunther's chops, and I was listening to Sirius XM, Busted Open Radio, Dave LaGreca, Bully Ray, and Tommy Dreamer. Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer brought up a good point. Usually when you watch a wrestling match, right, and, a wrestler would do a chop, you would always hear woos from the crowd. Of course, Nature Boy is all famous when it comes to his chops, and the crowd woos every time he chops. And any other wrestler besides Gunther, the crowd woos after they hit a chop. With Gunther, it's completely different because it is a Gunther chop, and they know how fucking painful those chops are, which is actually a thing that I didn't even realize. Because every time when you watch a Gunther match, every time when he hit the chop, you do not hear woos at all. That was something that caught my attention. I was like, holy shit, that is true. It goes to show you that Gunther is something special, and every move that Gunther does just creates that impact that, honestly, you just can't recover from. You just can't recover from that impact. And the chops that Gunther hits, man, they're just fucking insane. But he slams him down on the floor. Gunther is in control. Once we're back from break, we get a chop by Gunther, and then Riddle fights back with a series of chops of his own. Both then exchange strikes, and then we get an overhead kick by Riddle. Riddle then gets up on his feet. We get a running forearm into the corner, but then Riddle and Gunther go for repeated exchanges. Riddle then hits an exploder on Gunther, but then we get a kick to the back of Gunther, but then Gunther ends up hitting another furious chop after that. After that, we get a kick to the chest of Gunther. Then Gunther ends up going for a release German suplex. And then he transitions and ends up hitting a fucking lariat after that. We get a cover and a near fall. Riddle goes for the knee. He then goes for the second knee. And then we get a running knee to the back of the neck of Riddle by Gunther. After that, we get a cover by Riddle and a near fall. Riddle goes to the top, and then he ends up hitting the floating bro, but Gunther gets the knees up. Gunther ends up going for a big boot and then hits the powerbomb. We get a cover. Gunther wins the match. Overall, this wasn't a long match usually. For example, like this was not at the level of like Sheamus versus Gunther at like, Clash at the Castle. But this match definitely got the job done, and in my opinion, it was clearly better than the match that they had at Money in the Bank. But, of course, this was a non-title match, and from what it looks like right now, and what's interesting is that we had no Drew McIntyre on this show. As far as I'm concerned, maybe I got to watch back, but we saw no Drew McIntyre on this show. Thing is Gunther is clearly setting his eyes on Drew McIntyre, and they're clearly going to go and wrestle for that IC title at SummerSlam. That's definitely, I feel like the direction that they're going. Could we see a scenario in which Drew McIntyre could beat Gunther? We have absolutely no idea. I mean, Drew McIntyre beating Gunther, in my opinion, is not as far-fetched as a lot of people are making it out to be. It's really not far-fetched, and honestly, when Gunther goes down, think about this. When Gunther goes down and he drops the IC title, he's still going to look strong, and he's going to go after the World Heavyweight Championship. Whoever holds that World Heavyweight Championship now, maybe after SummerSlam, who knows? Gunther is going to take that title away because I genuinely believe either by the end of this year or next year, Gunther is going to be the World Heavyweight Champion, period. Because he has built a reputation for himself that, he is one of the most dominant figures on WWE television. The way that they're booking Gunther is one of the better things on WWE television. And honestly, they should really keep doing what they're doing with Gunther, because Gunther is definitely on his way towards becoming that dominant figure. And he's on the verge of breaking the Honky Tonks IC title record. So that's another accolade right there. So Gunther is definitely on his way. And they're just slowly, I don't want to say they're slowly building him, but they've been booking him fucking like a killer, which you want in a giant. One thing I will always say when it comes to WWE and AEW, and one thing that WWE always has over AEW is WWE knows how to book giants. AEW does not. They just don't book giants very well. For example, look at Wardlow. Wardlow had a slew of momentum last year in that MJF feud, and immediately after that MJF feud, he went nowhere, and look where he is right now. Gunther is what basically Wardlow should have been, but, the only difference is Gunther is a heel, and Wardlow's a babyface. But still, WWE knows how to book big men, and I don't want to say Gunther's a big man, but he is. He's a big man, and he's just doing very well for himself, and they're just booking him like an absolute killer, which you love to see. After the match, Gunther gets the microphone, and he says, "You can boo me as much as you want, but it won't change the fact that tonight is the greatest night of all of our sad lives, because we're here to see the greatest Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion." I love how he added heavyweight in the middle of Intercontinental Champion of all time. Matt Riddle is done. He is building a legacy. Drew McIntyre, if you want to ride on his coattails just like everybody else, you will fall victim to the Ring General. Fucking awesome. Gunther, bro, I got to get me an Imperium shirt, period. And, of course, I talked about it last week about, the whole thing with Giovanni Vinci, possibly, maybe splitting up Giovanni Vinci from Imperium. In my opinion, that is a fucking mistake. Giovanni Vinci should stay. I don't like what they do with factions by splitting them up because they don't really need to be, split up. I don't know. There was really no development on that this week, but hopefully, what I thought they were doing last week, hopefully they don't do it in the future, because I really, Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci or Marcel Wattaro and Fabian Eichner, like, they are such a good tag team. They are really a good tag team, and honestly, I don't want to see them split up. A lot of people were pointing out Ilya Dragunov. Of course, he's doing a lot of good things down there in NXT, and a lot of people, I mean, he has history with Gunther/Walter down in NXT before the rebrand. I believe he had phenomenal matches with Gunther down in NXT. I mean, could he be involved in Imperium? Maybe. I know some people were suggesting, hey, what if Ilya Dragunov could be involved in Imperium? You know, even though he beat him, he could still be involved in the faction in some way, shape, or form. I don't know about that. I mean, Ilya Dragunov is really good on his own, but honestly, you know, him being a part of Imperium, it's not really a bad idea if you think about it, even though Ilya Dragunov beat Gunther. But nonetheless, let's go later on in the show. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are backstage. They talk about how they won't back down from anyone. Rhea Ripley then comes in. She faces off with Raquel, and then Liv Morgan is literally in the middle of it. And what happens is Rhea Ripley gets pissed off and just beats the shit out of Liv Morgan. With all due respect, Liv Morgan looks so stupid. Like, why the fuck would you get in the middle of a fight between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez, knowing the fact that you're going to get beat to shit by Rhea Ripley? After that, she gets attacked, and then the brawl breaks loose, and then Rhea ends up taking out Raquel Rodriguez. Later on, we got the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day. On the verge of becoming the top faction in World Wrestling Entertainment once the Bloodline storyline is completely over. They are on the verge for that, clearly. The way that Judgment Day has been handled these past few months, fucking phenomenal. I am a big fan of Judgment Day. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Judgment Day is one of my favorite things on WWE TV. Besides the Bloodline, Judgment Day is just fucking phenomenal. All right. The Judgment Day are stronger than ever. Did anybody think that we would break up? They're just better than everybody else because they are built differently. They, of course, don't shadow because of egos. No one can stop them, and they, of course, dominate Monday Night Raw. And I mean, Raquel just found that out. She is the most dominant woman in this industry, says, I was about to say Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. She is unbeatable as the undisputed women's champion. Finn and Damian will become world champions. And tomorrow, her Latino heat, Dirty Dom, will become the NXT North American champion, which, spoiler alert, he beat Wesley last night on NXT and won the North American Championship. Very mixed reactions. Honestly, I'm not mad about it. Number one, I don't watch NXT, so I can't really give my thoughts on it. I think the idea of bringing in main roster stars down to NXT is fucking stupid. But at the same time, if you want to get ratings, that's kind of the formula that you have to do, and that's what we've learned throughout the past couple of years. And honestly, Dominik winning the North American title is not really a bad idea. Now, the only plot hole that I see is when Solo won the North American title, and this was immediately after he was paired with the Bloodline. They had him relinquish the title because he was affiliated with SmackDown. Are they going to do the same thing with Dominik? I have absolutely no fucking idea, but still, I think Dominik winning the North American title, at the end of the day, it will work out for Dominik. It sucks for Wesley, but I think Dominik, you know, he's going to do great things with that North American title at the end of the day. But, spoiler alert, he won the NXT North American title, and he beat Wesley. Priest then interrupts, and actually, no. Dominik gets the mic, and of course, every time when Dominik gets the mic, it's starting to become a little bit repetitive, but if he's getting that nuclear fucking heat, why stop it? You know, at the end of the day, WWE loves overdoing stuff, and you really can't change their ways. But not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, you know, at some point, you know, enough is enough. We get it now. But that is not to say Dominik is not a heat magnet, because he clearly is a heat magnet. But Dominik gets the microphone and boos by the crowd, and he says at NXT he will beat Wesley. And then Priest interrupts, and he says all the boos won't change the fact that tomorrow night Damian Priest becomes the North American champion. And it won't change the fact that he will become the World Heavyweight Champion. And Finn Balor gets first crack at Seth Rollins. And Finn says he will be listening to that interview that Seth Rollins is going to be conducting later on. Just remember that the issues that they have will never be over until he is crowned the brand new World Heavyweight Champion. And Dominik says that's because the Judgment Day, you know, rule Monday Night Raw, and then all of a sudden Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens come out. Sami Zayn is on the microphone, and he feels like he has a good relationship with the fans, and he knows what they like and they dislike. And he asks the fine people of Atlanta, Georgia, Did you pay your hard-earned money to listen to Dominik Mysterio talk? Or did you pay your hard-earned money to see Dominik to shut up? They get to do it tonight. Tonight, it's going to be Dominik and Damian Priest taking on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Priest says they've been focused on individual championships, but Dom, he sees a pair of titles that would look great in the Judgment Day. So they are so competent. Of course, how about they put those tag team championships on the line tonight? And Kevin Owens looks like he's going to get pissed, but Sami Zayn, of course, has been, I don't want to say judging, but questioning a lot of the antics of Kevin Owens really, because he's been going on a series of outbursts. And what happens is Sami Zayn gives him the green light to go absolutely crazy. Kevin Owens goes on a rant, and he accepts the challenge. And, yeah, we got ourselves a championship match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on the Judgment Day's Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio. Later on, Raquel Rodriguez is getting medical attention, and Raquel says she can compete, and then Adam Pearce sanctions the match. Wow, bad officiating, Adam Pearce. Bro, he will literally sanction anything. You can literally fucking, not walk, and he will still sanction a fucking match. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Raquel Rodriguez comes out after getting attacked by Rhea Ripley, coming out smiling and all. That's one thing that I like, bro. Raquel Rodriguez, man. Every time when she comes out, bro. And I think Raquel Rodriguez is absolutely talented. But, bro, I feel like fucking Vince Russo. Bro, she comes out in the most generic music, right? The most generic music you could ever see. That is the most generic fucking music I've seen. Her NXT theme song was so much better than this. And she just comes out just fucking smiling bro. Why is she smiling all the time? She could literally get attacked moments before and still come out smiling. I don't know. That's a little nitpick on my end, but that's how WWE loves to do things. But overall thoughts on the match, wasn't the best match. Usually when it comes to these women's tag team matches, I'm not really that too interested in them because, of course, you guys know me. I'm not really the biggest fan of the women's tag team championships because, and there's a real rhyme or reason for that, there are no legit women's tag teams. But I will say, the right team won, that being Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Now, granted, Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan just won those titles a couple of weeks prior, and it kind of doesn't make any sense, but I'll explain why later on after I go through the match as to why I think Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green definitely deserve those women's tag team titles. All right, let's go through the match. Sonya begins with Liv Morgan. The heels proceed to gang up on Liv. Both Sonya and Chelsea pick up Liv and hit the double suplex. We get a cover by Chelsea into near fall. Then Sonya makes the tag, and then we get repeated body shots on Liv Morgan. Liv then tries to fight back, but then Sonya picks Liv Morgan up. Liv escapes, and then she ends up hitting the Enziguri, but then Raquel tags in. She ends up taking out everybody, and then she hits a clothesline on Sonya Deville, but then she picks up Sonya, and then she ends up hitting the fallaway slam. Raquel then gets sent to the ring post, but then Sonya applies the half Boston Crab, or the half crab, whatever you want to call it. Sonya then continues to wrench the injured knee of Raquel, because I believe with the half crab applied, she was actually targeting the injured knee of Raquel Rodriguez. Then, of course, Raquel tries to drag herself to the rope, but then gets dragged back into the center of the ring. Liv comes back for the save, but then Liv is the legal woman. She goes after Chelsea Green. She ends up hitting a knee into the corner, but then she ends up hitting the double knees off the top. Ends up hitting the Oblivion, and we get a cover by Liv and a near fall when Sonya hits the knee. After that, Sonya takes Raquel to the outside and hits the chop block. Then Liv goes for the roll-up on Chelsea Green, and then we get a right hand by Sonya, but then Chelsea ends up hitting the Unpretty Her. The Unprettier, or the Unpretty Her, as they like to say on WWE TV. We get a cover by Chelsea and a near fall. And then we get a series of knee strikes, or one knee strike, I should say, missed by Sonya Deville. Liv ends up going for the roll-up and a near fall, but then Chelsea Green comes in and catches Liv and ends up finally hitting the Unpretty Her. Meanwhile, Sonya Deville ends up hitting the knee, and we get a cover, and Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville are the new women's tag team champions. Overall, even though I think, look, again, you guys know me. The biggest problem with the women's division is the lack of women's tag teams. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan are the most fucking generic tag team you could ever even assemble. Look, there's nothing wrong with doing a makeshift tag team. But if you're going to do a makeshift tag team, at least have some story behind it. What is the story behind Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan? You know, I'm starting to see a common occurrence when it comes to these women's tag teams, and this is the biggest problem. Every time when a random team is paired up, they're all like, oh yeah, we're best friends now, and then all of a sudden we're not. Like, that is the problem I have. Like, why are they a tag team? That is the biggest issue. Why is Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan a tag team? It makes absolutely no sense. Why even have the fucking tag team? Also, Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green definitely deserve the win because, yes, they are a makeshift tag team, but they actually have story behind it, and honestly, they're fucking entertaining. Like, especially Chelsea Green. You can criticize Chelsea Green all you want, but Chelsea Green, ever since she came back to the company, dude, she's, with the character that she's given, holy shit, Chelsea Green works perfectly with this Karen character that she's portraying on TV. It just works so well for her, and not only that, it's very entertaining to watch. And Sonya Deville, Sonya Deville, I'm not really the biggest Sonya guy, but still, the chemistry that Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville have, honestly, they deserve the women's tag team titles. Trust me, I'll be the first one to tell you this was the right decision to make. Even though Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan's title reign were cut short, who gives a shit? They did nothing with those tag titles at the end of the day. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, definitely they do deserve the women's tag team titles at the end of the day. They're actually a women's tag team that, I'm not invested in, but primarily when it comes to Chelsea Green is just fucking entertaining and she's hilarious. So honestly, I'm not mad about this decision whatsoever. After that, Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green are backstage. Sonya says that Raquel had a fake injury. They've been champions since the moment she got here, and they're going to be celebrating, and they're going to run this division, and everyone better respect them. The Miss Karens. I'm going to call it, you know what this tag team should be called? The Karens. It just works. It just works. Because if you think about it, Sonya Deville does sound like a Karen as well. With all due respect. I like Sonya, but she does sound like a Karen. Seth Rollins in a backstage interview with, I believe, Byron Saxton. This was very good. I loved this. He's asked, what are his plans on defending the World Heavyweight Championship? And Seth Rollins is like, I have big plans. SummerSlam is right around the corner. And, of course, the World Heavyweight Championship deserves more. Finn Balor has earned his place. And then Finn Balor comes in. And he comes in. And this is a live, backstage one-on-one interview. And Finn Balor comes in, right? And Byron leaves. This was so fucking good. He comes in. And he tells Seth Rollins, you know why I'm here. I want my rematch. He doesn't know how many other contenders that there are. He doesn't care. But the line starts with me. I know that the issues between them aren't over. So, you know what you have to do. Talk to Pierce and make the match. Rollins says he understands where he is coming from, but he needs to stop living in the past. Finn says he says he was living in chaos. I was watching this and there was a lot of fucking noise and I completely forgot what he stated. Of course, that is winning the World Heavyweight Championship. He will do to him what he did to him. He will hurt him, and he will laugh at his face, and he will take his career and alter it forever. Rollins says this once. The World Heavyweight Championship is about more than his personal vendetta. It's bigger than him and himself. You want to settle the score? We don't need a match for that. We can do it right here and right now. So take your shot or get out of my face. Finn stands up, then leaves, then comes back and attacks Seth Rollins, and Rollins gets taken out by Finn Balor. Overall, this was phenomenal. We need more of this shit on WWE television, honestly. I love these types of segments. I really do. They just, to me, they feel organic, and they make me interested in what we're going to be seeing at the pay-per-view, because we're clearly going to be getting Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Finn Balor won the World Heavyweight Championship. Bro, Finn Balor is a fucking main eventer. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Finn Balor is a guaranteed main eventer. It's a fucking crime that this man has not won a world championship since winning the Universal Championship back at SummerSlam in 2016. And unfortunately, that title reign had to get cut short a day after he won the title, and he had to relinquish it a day after he won the title because of a shoulder injury made by Seth Rollins. So honestly, if there's any guy that should win this world title, it's definitely Finn Balor. He absolutely deserves it. But the interesting question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is Damian Priest's role in this match? Because we know he holds the Money in the Bank. He could easily cash that shit in, and there's an ongoing story that WWE's telling with Judgment Day. And, you know, they've kind of been teasing, you know, maybe Damian Priest could have a future babyface run, which, honestly, I don't think they should split Damian Priest from Judgment Day. I think that is a crime, in my opinion. Even though the story is there, I think it's way too early. Just like I thought when Edge was running the group last year, I thought it was way too early that, you know, they just fucking kicked him out. But, honestly, though, this can honestly, you know, take, you know, twists and turns that we could possibly see. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad at any decision that they would make. And honestly, I wouldn't be upset if Finn Balor won the World Heavyweight Championship. I think it's time. Seth Rollins won the title in May. It's about to be July. SummerSlam is in early August. I think it's time to take the belt off of Seth Rollins. And who knows? You know, maybe there can be a grudge feud, and then you know they can pull a Randy Orton and Christian in 2011, and you know they can flip flop the World Heavyweight title, but actually, you know, make the flip flop of the World Heavyweight title actually be good. But whatever. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens. But this one-on-one, you know, interview with Seth Rollins, you know, it was kind of a one-on-one segment backstage with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Great stuff. I loved it. We need to see more of this on WWE TV. We had Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders in a Viking rules match. Titus O'Neil is on commentary. You guys know me. Titus O'Neil did commentate, I believe it was for the tag team match at WrestleMania, night one of WrestleMania. And that match was absolutely insane. That was a phenomenal match. I completely forgot who was in the match. I knew the Street Profits were in the match, but I completely forgot who else was in the match. But Titus O'Neil, man, was one of the highlights of that particular match. Titus O'Neil, man. Say what you want about him. He's clearly a fucking jobber. And he's a global ambassador for the WWE as well, but he is hilarious on commentary, and I've been criticizing the commentary team on Raw, primarily Kevin Patrick, because if you think about it, if you listen to the Raw commentary team, Corey Graves, you know, I've been praising Corey Graves for years, since his days in NXT back in like 2015 and 16. But when it comes to, you know, the commentary team on Raw, you know, if you think about it, Corey Graves is kind of carrying the whole commentary team. Kevin Patrick just, to me, does not sound enthusiastic, and he doesn't sound as genuine as, you know, maybe a Nigel McGuinness and a, you know, Ian Riccaboni or a Kevin Kelly would on AEW Collision, or Michael Cole and, you know, Pat McAfee, or Michael Cole and Wade Barrett would on SmackDown. If you compare the commentary team on WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown, clearly the SmackDown commentary team is far, like, just 100 times better than the Raw commentary team. You know, the Raw commentary team for years sucked. And really, if you think about it, like, I'm going to be comparing AEW Collision every Saturday night. We got Ian Riccaboni, you know, for a one-time gig, because Kevin Kelly, of course, is in Japan doing the G1. And Ian Riccaboni in that 2 out of 3 falls match that we saw on Saturday night, he was phenomenal. And, you know, if you listen to Ian Riccaboni for the first time, it will take a little bit to get used to, but really what makes and I said this on my Collision review, what makes Ian Riccaboni good is the people that he is paired with. And when he was paired with Nigel McGuinness on that particular night, he was phenomenal, and he brought up a lot of good points. Same thing on the Ring of Honor shows, you know, with Caprice Coleman. I'm a big fan of Caprice Coleman. He is phenomenal at what he does. Just absolutely very charismatic, and just, you can tell he gives a shit about what he sees in that ring. When it comes to Kevin Patrick, when I watch Raw every week, this man, like, he just doesn't really bring that enthusiasm. If that makes any sense. He just doesn't bring that enthusiasm, and he doesn't sound genuine to me. So honestly, adding Titus O'Neil on commentary was a nice touch. But we had this Viking rules match, which I know a lot of people praise this. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the Alpha Academy and Viking Raider stuff is not getting over, because it's clearly getting over with the audience. But I personally hate gimmick matches on shows like this, because think about this. I love reality in wrestling, right? And when I got family members coming over and I'm watching this, and, you know, in front of like my family members, and they see a match like the Viking rules match, I feel fucking embarrassed watching this goddamn show. I shit you not. I just do. Look, gimmick matches can be fun from time to time. And look, it's not like this match was bad. I personally just didn't like it because, again, it was a gimmick match that I just fucking hated. Okay, maybe I did hate it, but still, like, look, I get why people liked it, and it was a little fun. But still, for me, I like realism and I like seriousness in wrestling. So This shit's not my cup of tea. It sounds like something Vince Russo would do in TNA back in 2007, but that is just me. But Alpha Academy attacked the Raiders. Eric throws Ivar on Otis. Gable later applies the ankle lock on Eric. Gable goes for the cannonball. We got a cover into near fall. Chad Gable sends Eric onto the shield. There's like multiple shields on the apron. And Gable takes out a table. Later on, the Raiders are in control. Ivar goes for a springboard, but he got caught by Otis and ends up hitting a slam. That shit actually looked pretty cool. Once we're back from commercial break, the table is set up, but then, of course, Maxine gets the jacket, and, of course, they're feuding over a goddamn jacket. She gets put through a table. Yes, Maxine gets put through a table. And what happens is Otis is going crazy over the Raiders later on, and then he slams Ivar. He throws Eric. We get a splash by Otis, and then he ends up hitting a powerbomb on Eric. And then he does the Caterpillar. Of course, we all love the Caterpillar. And after that, he ends up going for the elbow drop, goes to the top. Valhalla enters the fray, and then both of the Raiders pick up Otis, and then they plant him down with the Ragnarok, and we get a cover, and the Viking Raiders win this Viking Rules match. Look, I know it's getting over, but this is not my cup of tea. And also, how many times have we been seeing Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders every fucking week? Think about it. How many times we've been seeing, variations of, one-on-one matches with the Viking Raiders and Alpha Academy? I know they're in a feud right now, but, bro, it's like they're wrestling every fucking week. I'm already tired of it. Give me something new, please, with all due respect. I love Alpha Academy. I love the Viking Raiders, even though the Viking Raiders, their run recently hasn't really been that good. But Alpha Academy, they're entertaining. I love Alpha Academy, but still, I'm tired of this feud. Give me something new, please. We got Shayna Baszler versus Nikki Cross. Nobody gives a shit. Shayna Baszler squashes Nikki Cross. Nobody gives a crap. After that, Ronda is on the microphone, and she's, up on the crowd. She's up on the crowd, and, bro, let me tell you, I had no fucking idea what Ronda Rousey said. This is why she sucks on the microphone. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Ronda Rousey, she's good in the ring, but ever since she made her return, especially early last year, she just sounds like she just doesn't want to be there. I don't know. That's just my assumption. But Ronda Rousey's just terrible on the microphone. She doesn't sound realistic, and honestly, it's just not good. She talks about how she's done a lot. She's been thinking a lot how she got into WWE. And, of course, Ronda talks about how she took that opportunity, and you can't blame privilege. She's the greatest combat sports athlete of all time, and she is a copy of her. And then Shayna replies, and Shayna says, when it comes to this ring, she is a better Ronda Rousey than her. And she challenges her to come down and fight. Ronda says no, but then Shayna runs up the crowd, and then Ronda then challenges her to a match at SummerSlam. Great. There's a lot of rumors regarding Ronda Rousey. It looks like she could possibly be on her way out. I don't know that to be true or not. We have absolutely no idea. But honestly, let's be honest with ourselves. This last run with Ronda Rousey in the WWE has been fucking dog shit. Absolute dog shit. Nothing memorable came out of this recent run. Nothing. Everybody will be remembering Ronda Rousey for not only her UFC run, but also remembering Ronda Rousey for her first run in the WWE, which is actually not bad. Her first run was actually pretty good. Even though her promos were still not the best, her first run in the WWE back in 2018 all the way to 2019 was actually pretty good. But, bro, this recent run, fucking forget about it. Nobody's watching WWE for Ronda Rousey, with all due respect. That's my opinion. We got a backstage interview with Ricochet. Talks about his interaction with Logan Paul. It talks about how he doesn't understand. And, of course, he lives in his own little world. But we're here in Atlanta. We got a sold-out arena. And they aren't here because we post on Instagram. They are here because of the WWE. And Logan is the joke of this world. And Ricochet challenges him to meet him next week on Raw because he will hurt him where it really hurts. His ego. We're definitely going to be getting a match between Ricochet and Logan Paul at SummerSlam. It's obvious it's going to happen. And honestly, I think that is a great match. Bro, I say this every time when Logan Paul wrestles. You may not like Logan Paul. Trust me, there's a lot of reasons that you may not like Logan Paul for a lot of his fucking antics that he does outside of WWE in his own little world that he lives in. He is a social media megastar, and the reason why he signed to the company is because he brings in mainstream publicity. And he doesn't need to win a championship for that. For him just being there, that's all the mainstream publicity that you can get. But let's be honest, man. Logan Paul has paid his fucking dues, and he became a fucking master at this shit. Logan Paul has been phenomenal in the ring. You know, his promos may not be the best, and I do believe he's a much better heel than a babyface. I think it's pretty obvious. I feel like he's more comfortable as a heel. But again, really where the bread is butter, or where the butter is bread in Logan Paul, is his in-ring ability. And honestly, Ricochet is the perfect guy for that. He is definitely the perfect guy for that. There's been rumors that this match could possibly open up SummerSlam in Detroit at Ford Field. Bro, sign me the fuck up. Sign me the fuck up. Dude, if they're going to open up SummerSlam, these guys are going to fucking knock it out of the goddamn park. They're going to steal the fucking show. They've been stealing the show not only at Money in the Bank, they stole the show at the Royal Rumble. That spot is like literally stuck in my head when both of them were on opposite portions of the ring and both of them knocked each other down with a double springboard crossbody. Like, that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Logan Paul versus Ricochet is going to be a fucking banger. Okay, I know a lot of people throw the term banger, but bro, that is the legit definition of a banger. That match is going to be fucking fire, and that is a match that I'm definitely excited to see, man. They're just going to knock it out of the fucking park. I'm excited. We got a Miz TV segment with The Miz. He talks about how he is back and he's surprised that, we didn't get, or he doesn't get, You Still Got It chance, because last week he beat Tommaso Ciampa, and he is a winner. He beat Tommaso Ciampa, and he is the biggest star in the WWE. Huh? No, the biggest star in the WWE right now is the Roman Reigns. He played, of course, in the American Entry Championship golf tournament next to the biggest stars of all entertainment. And he ends up mentioning Pat McAfee. And when he mentioned Pat McAfee, could they be teasing a feud with Pat McAfee and The Miz? I don't know. Bro, I want Pat McAfee back on commentary, man. I 100% miss Pat McAfee. I know he's doing his own thing. And you know what? Make your money, dude. Like, make your money. He's living the life of a fucking lifetime. And you know what? I fucking respect him for that. But, bro, come on, man. We need Pat McAfee back on fucking commentary. I swear to you, every time when Pat McAfee comes out, you could just see the look in Michael Cole's face. You could just see the look in his fucking face. Like, this guy, he just loves his job when Pat McAfee is next to him in the fucking commentary booth. It just works. It just does. And him in the ring, again, mainstream publicity. If you look at it from a business sense, it makes total sense. And it's not like Pat McAfee sucks in the ring. He is phenomenal. Guys like Pat McAfee, Bad Bunny, and Logan Paul. Those three guys are great at what they do in the ring. Phenomenal people. And honestly, when they get involved, yes, it does suck because that could easily be a spot for another talent. But again, if you look at it from a business sense, it makes total sense. Pat McAfee, in my opinion, is good for business. But so he brings out Becky Lynch, right? And Becky comes out. Miz mentions the loss to Trish Stratus, and then at Money in the Bank, where she did not win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Then last week, she lost to Zoe Stark. Has the man lost a step? And Becky throws the chairs on the outside of the ring, and then Becky says, she lost a lot of things, titles, friends, and her damn mind, but she hasn't lost a step. She knows how this stupid little show works, and she tells Miz to bring Trish out here before he loses his tiny testicles. Again with the fucking balls on Miz. Like, Jesus Christ, every week Miz talks about his balls. Miz then welcomes Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark. Becky wants a rematch. Trish tells her to settle down because she's acting like a bratty toddler. Who talks like that? A bratty toddler. Nobody talks like that. Then, of course, is that, Rue in the ring? And, of course, I believe that is Becky Lynch's daughter's name. And she says, what is her problem? Why is she so obsessed with her? She isn't going to fight her, as The Miz eloquently pointed out. She fought her and won. Zoe fought her and also won. So, no. She will not fight her. You understand? Since she's been back, she beat her. She didn't win Money in the Bank. Zoe beat her. They're actually done here. Zoe and her are moving, baby. And there's just one thing that she really needs. This is the place where she can finally say, thank you, Trish. Becky then replies, and she talks about how this is about being a self-centered psychopath. She let her in. She hit her when she was at her weakest because she knew she couldn't handle her at her strongest. And she spent more time in this company than she has. She isn't better than her. If you want to talk about being the best, well, then fight her and prove that you're as good as you say you are. Or are you good at talking and hair, and her hair flips? Trish says that she will fight her under a few conditions. First of all, you need to get through Zoe first because you didn't beat her. Trish then says you're really going to beat the fastest rising star. Wait. She called Zoe Stark the fastest rising star. I laughed when she said that because, let's be honest, we all spoke highly of Zoe Stark, when she made her debut, and we all spoke highly of, Zoe Stark, first being paired with Trish. But let's be honest with ourselves. Has Zoe Stark done anything, to really elevate her career just being paired with Trish Stratus? She's done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Zoe Stark's her biggest weakness for Zoe Stark, the biggest weakness for Zoe Stark's, or Zoe Stark. I keep calling her Zoe Stark. I keep thinking of Tony Stark. Zoe Stark is her mic skills. Zoe Stark's mic skills are terrible. And she completely exposed that a couple of weeks ago on Raw. But later on, she says she will need to do something else. When she beats her, and you got to get on your knees and say, "Thank you, Trish." And Becky says, "Done." And then Trish says, "There's one more thing. As a reminder to her and everybody else, she will need her to tattoo 'Thank you, Trish' across her chest." And then Becky immediately is like, "Done." Then they gang up on Becky. Becky fights back. Becky takes the mask, and then she hits Trish with it, and then she ends up hitting Zoe Stark, and then she ends up going for a headbutt on Trish. And the segment ends. First off, when we have segments like this, why do they have to be on Miz TV? I'm getting sick and tired of this Miz TV shit, honestly. Every time when there's a fucking Miz TV segment, I don't want to say I cringe because Miz TV has existed for almost like damn near 10 years, or at this point already 10 years, over 10 years. It's been like a fucking, I don't want to say an institution, but like this shit's been on Raw fucking never. But bro, I am sick and fucking tired of The Miz. I'm not The Miz as like a performer because I think The Miz is great. I just hate, and people tend to get confused. People think fans like me, hate The Miz. No, we don't hate The Miz. If anything, we love The Miz. I just hate the way they are booking The Miz and they're treating him on television. I think The Miz should be treated way more fucking seriously on TV. That's what I think. I want that 2016 Miz on my television screen. I don't want to see this fucking Miz doing some dumbass jokes and talking about his ball sack. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want to see serious fucking Miz, the guy that literally went on a tirade on Daniel Bryan on that Talking Smack segment, and then, of course, went into that feud with Dolph Ziggler and literally did not need the WWE Championship to stay relevant, man. This man was relevant just by holding the Intercontinental title, a title that didn't mean jack shit. The Miz made it that. The Miz made that title into, a title that people could actually like support and actually care for. I want that Miz on WWE TV. I don't want to see this stupid fucking comedy Miz. I'm tired of that Miz. I want to see like serious Miz. That's my issue. My issue is not with the Miz. My issue is with the way that they're portraying the Miz. Because we all know Miz is so talented at what he does. And look, Miz is the type of guy that he turns chicken shit into chicken salad. Always. He always turns chicken shit into chicken salad. Always. He can make the dumbest shit look good. But again, I want that serious Miz on WWE TV, period. And don't even get me started with the whole thing with Tommaso Ciampa because the whole pairing with Tommaso Ciampa made no goddamn sense. It just didn't. But aside from the Miz, this Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch feud did nothing for me. Just did absolutely nothing for me. To me, it makes no sense. It's terrible. It fucking sucks. And once this feud is over, Trish Stratus is not going to be on WWE TV. That's just the nature of the situation. And that is the God's honest truth. This feud has been absolute dog shit. Dog shit. There's one thing that you can criticize WWE. It's this fucking feud. This fucking feud sucks. It just does. We got Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bronson Reed. Honestly, I didn't really care as much for that about this match. We get a dropkick by Nakamura, and then Bronson takes out Shinsuke. Reed then mocks Shinsuke by driving his foot onto the face of Shinsuke in the corner. Shinsuke then he hits a dropkick on the face of Bronson Reed. Shinsuke then tries to drive his knee, but then Bronson Reed escapes. Bronson then off the apron drives his elbow on Shinsuke Nakamura. Once we're back from commercial break, Shinsuke ends up going for repeated kicks. Shinsuke then ends up going for the enziguri, but then we get an enziguri into the corner. Then he ends up hitting the dragon screw on Reed, and then he hits a kick once again. We get a cover by Shinsuke and a near fall. He then drives his knee on Reed, and then he applies the sleeper hold. Reed then picks up Shinsuke Nakamura, and then he ends up hitting the Death Valley driver. And then we get a cover and a near fall, but then Reed goes to the top, but then Shinsuke comes back. He then drives his knee on Bronson Reed, but then he ends up going on to the second rope, but then Shinsuke drives his knee on Bronson Reed once again. Shinsuke then sets up the Kinshasa, but he runs into Bronson Reed. But then out of nowhere, Tommaso Ciampa comes in and knees Bronson Reed to the outside. After that later, Shinsuke is so pissed off he ends up booting Tommaso Ciampa. Is this a heel turn for Shinsuke Nakamura? No, but I feel like this is just a babyface getting pissed off because he keeps on losing his matches or getting, having interference in a lot of his fucking matches and they end up causing DQs. Honestly, do I care? I'm going to be brutally honest. I really do not care what's going on over here, but it is what it is. We got our main event. We got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on the Judgment Day. That being consisting of Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. This was a good match. I liked it. I'm going to be honest, man. When it comes to the main events that we've been seeing on Raw these past couple of weeks, Raw may not be the best show, and trust me, those 3 hours have a lot of the blame for that. Like, bro, it is such a drag to watch Monday Night Raw, trust me. But let's be honest with ourselves. The main events have been really good matches. These main events have been really good. And a large portion of that has to do with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It really does. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, yeah, you can say, who are their next opponents? Who are they going to drop those titles to? Yeah, and those are valid arguments. But, bro, they've been killing it as the tag team champions, in my opinion. They've been delivering fucking phenomenal matches. And just the chemistry between both of those men are just phenomenal. And Dominik and Damian Priest are great, too. They're really good. But I'm not really going to go through a lot of this match. Dominik takes Sami to the outside. Kevin Owens misses the stunner. And later on, he ends up hitting the pop-up powerbomb. We got a cover into near fall. Later on in the match, Sami sends Priest to the outside, but then Dominik hits the dropkick onto the back of Sami. And then Sami sends Dominik to the outside, but then Kevin Owens goes for the cannonball into the outside. Sami Zayn then ends up going for the somersault, but then Sami then sends Dominik back into the ring. Then Rhea sends Kevin Owens to the steel steps, basically Rhea Ripley getting involved like she usually does in any Judgment Day match. Kevin Owens is down, but then Dominik goes for the roll-up and we get an ear fall. Once again, Dominik's mommy, the current Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley, is on the apron. And then Liv Morgan, who got attacked earlier on in the show, comes in and attacks Rhea Ripley. Rhea picks her up, but then Rhea gets taken and gets clotheslined over to the barricade all the way to the timekeeper's area. Later on in the match, Dominik goes for the exploder. Sami then sets up the haluva kick. And when he sets up the haluva kick, Priest comes in. Meanwhile, Kevin Owens comes in and then he ends up hitting the stunner. Sami Zayn ends up going for the haluva kick. And then we get a cover. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn retain the WWE World Tag Team Championships. For the undisputed Tag Team Championships. Overall, again, this was a great main event. These main events that we've been seeing on Raw have been great, even though the show's not the best. But nonetheless, it was great. And, of course, as we saw last night on NXT, which I did not watch. I don't watch NXT. We saw, Dominik Mysterio win the North American Championship. So now, Judgment Day not only has the current Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley. Damian Priest is holding the Money in the Bank. And now Dominik is the NXT North American Champion. But that leaves Finn Balor. He has no title at all. And from what it looks like, he's going to be facing Seth Rollins at SummerSlam early August in a couple of weeks. Do I see Finn Balor beating Seth Rollins? Honestly, I do. Could we see a cash-in by Damian Priest? We don't know. Could it happen? Maybe. But if you think about it, if Damian Priest did cash in at SummerSlam, don't you think it could be a little bit too early? I think they have something gold here that they can drag out for months, and it can work very well. Think about this. The Bloodline stuff is the top thing on WWE right now. Judgment Day is on the verge of basically, once the Bloodline is done, once all the Bloodline shit is over with, WWE can fall back on Judgment Day. And you know what? That is a great move to do because Judgment Day, there's something special with the group. I've been criticizing Rhea Ripley's title reign because Rhea Ripley's title reign, there's no direction when it comes to her title reign. But I'm not saying, that Even though there's no direction with Rhea Ripley's title reign, there is direction with Rhea Ripley and Judgment Day and the chemistry that she has with the group. Everybody in Judgment Day plays a purpose. They all play a purpose. Finn Balor, of course, plays a purpose. Damian Priest plays a purpose. Dominik plays a purpose. I mean, for fuck's sakes, he is a goddamn heat magnet. Everywhere he goes, he gets booed out of the fucking building. And that is exactly what you want as a heel. As a heel, that is your job. That is what you should be doing. And Rhea Ripley, she's just so good. And the chemistry that she has with Dominik is just phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff. But overall, what are my thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week? I thought Raw, even though there was stuff that I didn't like on the show, it was not as bad as most weeks. Because usually on most weeks, I get bored out of my fucking mind. And trust me, there were some moments on this show where I got bored out of my fucking mind. But nonetheless, I'll be honest, I really enjoyed the first hour. The first hour was pretty good. We had a really good match with Gunther and Matt Riddle. Even though that match was short, it was still a pretty good match. And it was far better than the match that they had at Money in the Bank. Not to say that the match that they had at Money in the Bank was bad. It's just if you compare the two matches, it's like night and day. Clearly, the match that they had this week on Raw was 10 times better than they had at Money in the Bank. Of course, we had the Judgment Day. We had that fantastic one-on-one, back and forth by Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. We're going to be getting that match. Cody Rhodes returning to Atlanta. Just great stuff at the end of the day. And honestly, I definitely enjoyed what I saw. I really enjoyed what I watched. And overall, I thought Raw was a fine show. One of the better Raws that I saw this year. And that's very rarely when it comes to Monday Night Raw, because usually I tend to trash on Monday Night Raw. But WWE, when it comes to these groups like Judgment Day, there's definitely direction when it comes to Judgment Day, and you'll love to see it because Judgment Day is right now on the verge of becoming the top faction in WWE right now. But yeah, that was my Raw review from June 17th, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Wrestle Havoc podcast, of course, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the Squared Circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Rick, Ricky DeRays from the Wrestle Havoc podcast, signing out. I'll see you guys all for AEW Dynamite's Blood and Guts. See you guys later.